All right, man. So Real Pro Ballers, we back with another episode, man. And you guys already know, man. I got the big dog Kwame Brown in the house again, man. Salute to him.
Salute to
Y'all
y'all.
make sure that y'all go subscribe to his channel, Kwame Brown Bus Life, right here on YouTube. His multiple channels that he have. You guys go tap in with him, man. Check out what he doing. And also I want to say this before we start. Um, I appreciate everybody who's supporting us and what we got going on. And again, man, salute to all of you guys uh, who understand. I want to say something about the interview I did with Whitlock before we get started because he is involved in this situation with Stephen A. Smith. Um, there are a lot of people say, "Oh, Ticket Man, you cut him off this and the third." Isn't that what Whitlock does on his own show? When he was on FS1, isn't that what he did with Chris Broussard when they had that conversation about whether or not it was disrespectful and it was beyond human decency what that man did to LeBron James's fence in the past. And then when Chris Broussard wanted to give his answer, he kept cutting Chris Broussard off and disrespecting, and they got in a heated argument. Wasn't that? But we'll get to that in a second. But I want to start off, man. So I did an interview. Shout out to Jason Whitlock. I don't like him at all, but personally, you know what I'm saying? I don't like what he represented, none of that stuff. But I respect him for pulling up, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see nothing bad happen to him. I'm not built like that. I don't wish no evil or no ill will, no harm on nobody. And so, I get it, but I don't agree with none of that stuff he's talking about. We have a harsh disagreement. But I will say this. Today we did an interview, man, earlier today. If you guys didn't check it out, go back and check it out today. And basically, the situation going on with Stephen A. Smith. Now, Stephen A. Smith has been connected to you because he connected himself to you based off the things he said about you when you never knew the man and he never knew you. So he never personally knew you. He never was a beat writer that covered your teams. And I want you to explain something. First thing I want you to explain what a beat writer is and what they do so people understand. Because Stephen A. was a beat writer for the Philadelphia 76ers with Allen Iverson, and you weren't on that team. You were with the Washington Wizards. What do beat writers do? And how do you see beat writers? Like, are they around all the time? Are they on the team playing stuff? How do they operate?
Well, the beat writers for the Washington Wizards, they was around all the time. They were at games. They were there after practice. Sometimes we would have open practices. So a beat writer is supposed to be somebody that covered the actual team in the city that the person played for.
Right. So you see them on the planes and all that stuff, traveling with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
would they hang around the hotels and stuff too?
Yep, same hotels. They stay in the same hotels, just different floors. They fly on the same plane. They get to the game before us because there's a media bus that we can ride to get extra shots. But yeah, they're like the eyes and ears for the media for what we're
So a lot
doing.
of times things that are getting leaked, players or coaches or staff members or somebody around the team may leak this information to the actual beat writers because they're there all the time.
Yeah, I think it's mostly coaches or friends of the players, but mostly coaches. These coaches, when they want to go after another player, these players make way more money than coaches now. So to kind of swing that power back, they'll just leak something about them to the media.
Okay, and then they'll use that through the actual beat writers who are there. So, like you said,
Mhm.
for example, if your teammate is cool, has a friend, and he's cool with this guy,
Mhm.
the beat writers may latch on to those friends to get information leaked out from that camp, and then that's how they leaking out information to the public.
Yeah, like that's why athletes got to be very careful on who they hang with. Your friend that's next to you, your homeboys, you guys may have a falling out. If I'm an intelligent beat writer, I want to know all of your friends. I want to know your girlfriend. I want to know your side chick because at some point y'all gonna have a falling out, and that's how they get the information.
So really, that's basically how Stephen A. fell out with AI because he was a beat writer, but for the Philadelphia 76ers. It was
Mhm.
well documented he was covering the 76ers. It was well documented that he was befriended by AI, who's a good dude. Shout out to Allen Iverson. He was
Mhm.
befriended and trusted by AI. And so AI allegedly brought him in circles, brought him in on personal things. Like, when guys go
Mhm.
out, maybe they go to a bar, they go to the casino, something like that. I guess he thought that him and Stephen A were so cool that he come on, you can come chill with us. This is gonna be off the record. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
But
sir.
for his for right for his bosses to give his bosses juicy information,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen A. turned and wrote articles about AI and
Yeah.
describing some of the things he was doing when AI didn't even have to bring this dude around him. Do
Mm-hmm.
the certain things he was doing. He could have just left him with the team, right? Or just left him around the hotel or somewhere, right?
Never had to be around them other than a team function or at a practice. And AI is the man. He's so insulated that that happened because of AI. Like, and they got AI got to understand something. Like, and even with the females you choose, like you the bag. Like at any point, the stories it's stories I know about AI I can make money off of, but what's the point? That's not me. And AI is a real dude, so he gonna move like a real person. And everything that he saw, I guarantee he talked about. If he saw him drinking, he talked about him drinking. If he saw him gambling, he talked about him gambling. Anything he saw, he talked about because everybody want to know about these players. So it's a sad thing to have a guy like Stephen A. do that, but they're all going to do that.
Shout out to
Majority of them are
Bubba.
going to do that.
Shout out to Bubba Chuck, man. Yeah, man, you're a real one,
Hmm.
man. You know what I'm saying? Bad News VA, Georgetown University, man. All the things
Hmm.
he went through to be able to get to the league and be great, man, and then have something like that happen to him. And Stephen A. has admitted that he, turned around and went and did the article on him and stuff like that. And he says they're cool again now, and that just shows you how big of a heart and how good of a dude that Allen Iverson really is. You know what I'm saying? He's the
Oh,
guy.
they're not cool again. You can never be cool again with somebody after that. You could be cordial, but he would never be in an inner circle with AI or
Oh, well,
private or nothing like
Stephen A.
that.
says they cool and they boys and all this other stuff, and they boys for life.
He would say that, but I guarantee you he won't see nothing like he saw before.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. So this is my question. If Stephen A is beat writing for the 76ers all this time, now this time, what year did you come into the league? In 2000, you came in the league in
Oh, one.
oh 01, 2001, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So AI is still with Philly at that time because AI is getting the finals that time with Philly.
Right.
How is Stephen A knowing what's going on with you in your career this time if he's a beat writer for the Philadelphia 76ers, if he's mainly around this team all of this time? How in the world does he know what's going on with a kid from the Washington Wizards?
He has no idea what's going on with me, and that's why I think they put Stephen A. on me after the trade didn't go through and after I broke my hand. Because at first, if you know how trades work, they give you minutes, they put you in, they make you look as good as possible. But when you're hiding a broken hand and when you're not playing as much and you're up and down, you tear up your ankle. Those things hinder trades. And once that trade didn't happen, there were many media members that talked about me. There was a lady, Sally Jenkins. I sat down with this lady for maybe 30 minutes to an hour. She wrote an article as if she knew my whole life, my whole history. She said I didn't know how to wash clothes. I have a 3.0 GPA that you can go look up from Glenn Academy High School that I was on the honor roll. Signed, sealed to the University of Florida. The NCAA was sitting behind me when I took the SAT and the ACT. So there was no way I could cheat. So for them to write these articles, I just was like, there has to be an agenda for this one and done rule. Because at that time it was so much negative press around guys coming out of high school. Because if you look at it, me, the Sagana job, Eddie Curry, Tyson Chandler, all of us was in the top 5 picks, 5, 6 picks. So that says a lot. That 2001 draft, a lot of things happened because right before that draft, that was the year that they put the cap in on how much you can get paid. And so when Elton Brand got drafted and other guys got drafted, they walked into $80 million, $88 million, something like that. When I got drafted, it was slotted at $3 million a year. They went to you got to earn it and all this other stuff, and then they end up switching it back. So to answer your question, the short route, Stephen A. Smith wouldn't know anything about me. He's just a personality who talks loud and who had the audience at the time. And he changed the way media was and people were spoken about. And I think he was instrumental in getting that one and done rule.
Why don't you think that Stephen A ever talked about guys like Adam Morrison, who shout out to Adam Morrison, nothing personal, but his career, was very short, ended due to injuries, never got on track. He never ever continuously attacked that guy throughout the course of his career. He never attacked guys like Anthony Bennett continuously. He never attacked guys like I would say Michael Olowokandi. People who said that some of these guys, they labeled these guys as busts, but Stephen A. never spent time on uh, many of these guys. None of these guys really. Darko Milicic, who
Yeah.
they took with the Pistons instead of taking Carmelo Anthony. You would think that he would get more attention and stuff like that based off the fact that they took him, the Pistons, when they were supposed to take Carmelo, but they took him based off a workout, and it just completely backfired. Stephen A. never mentions that then he'll come and every single time put you as the poster boy for being a bust. Why do you think that? What do you think is the root of him being put on you though? Why do you think why you instead of all of these other people in the history of the NBA? You know what I'm saying? You had maybe people would say Sam Bowie, all of this stuff, who was picked instead of Jordan, all of these things, all these people. Why you? Why do you think you were the chosen one for what he wanted to do?
Because my story check all the boxes to make people not have excuses. My dad was a convicted murderer. I went to a homeless shelter. I was one of eight. My mom didn't push this narrative that I got to the NBA based on her being a black woman. And I think that was one negative strike because as long as I would have said, your dad is in prison and, this strong black woman that got me to the number one draft pick, I think they would have wrote my story up as this great love story. But it's the things I said out of my mouth. When I first got drafted on the courthouse steps, on the steps in my hometown, I think it was the courthouse steps at the time, they asked me, how did you become the number one pick? And I replied, it was easy. I said, my brothers were selling drugs outside. I didn't have time. I had a job at the time. All of this. I played basketball on the side and I still made it to the number one draft pick. So I said, it's easy. All you have to do is focus on and be committed to something and get up every day and be dedicated to it. I said, so you could be a number one draft pick. And I think that's the things that they don't want kids from the inner city. I don't know where Oliver Candy is from or Michael Bennett is from, but I'm really from the inner city. And so I teach people and I tell people that it don't matter where you're from. I don't believe in critical race theory. I believe in despite of all the things and all the obstacles that was put in front of me. And I think every kid, if you breathe life into them instead of tell them some sob story, I think they'll be better than their situation and their circumstance. And I think that's what mothers understood when they were out there singing hymns while they were picking cotton and while they were working in the fields, trying to give their kids a sense of, hey, we got to take your mind out of this place that you're in, and you got to think past the situation. So guys like Stephen A., Sally Jenkins, if you think back, it's not just Stephen A. Any article they ever wrote about me was negative from strangers. I don't know Sally Jenkins. I don't know Stephen A. I don't know where they would get these stories, but every time they would mention my name, it's in the most egregious way that you think that I can't chew bubblegum and walk.
Let me ask you a question. I see a lot of people saying this, and a lot of people said this in the last interview, and I want you to be able to answer this question because it's towards you. People say to the people who say you don't hold yourself accountable for your shortcomings in your career, and you blame everybody else. You don't hold yourself accountable. To that, you say what?
That's the easy narrative to avoid the confrontation of what I said.
Hold on, you guys. You're gonna come back. I think you got a phone call. You're gonna come right back. There you go.
Uh
Yeah, I know you got a phone call. Probably go ahead.
oh, wait a minute.
There you go. You good?
All right. Well, let me see. This thing ain't changed back yet. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So what happens is when people actually like a person and have an iconic figure, am I saying I never made mistakes? Am I saying it wasn't hard for me to go in the gym? Yeah, it was hard for me to go in the gym at times when you have adults taking the love and the passion out of the game because they wanted you to be traded. But my situation, for people to not want to look at it and lay all the cards out on the table and say, okay, wait. This man was the number one draft pick, never got the keys to this pretty car. It was given to Michael Jordan. And if anybody who made excuses, it was them making excuses for me. I was quiet the entire time. I didn't say nothing. And when given the opportunity to play, I played well, and I got injured a lot, so it was just difficult coming into a situation where somebody don't want you. I don't know if you ever been in a relationship or a bad marriage where a girl was maybe using you, but if somebody really don't want you and they're just trying to use you for something, like to trade you for somebody else, that's the worst feeling. And I wish at the end of the day I could have got traded to New Jersey or somewhere with a pass first point guard so that my skills could flourish in a different situation. But I got traded from that situation to a similar situation in LA. And then once you get a label put on you, it's pretty much over.
So now it takes us to this. So all these years, Stephen A have been going in on you, saying a lot of disparaging things about you were a scrub, a bust, a bum, couldn't use your hands, had small hands, couldn't score, didn't have no post moves, all of these things. Now,
then how did I get drafted? That don't even make sense.
Right. I mean, it's hilarious, but now it's funny because Stephen A he's had a recent beef going on with Jason Whitlock. He came out. Jason Whitlock basically was going in on Shannon Sharpe. He had an issue with Shannon Sharpe. He said some things about Shannon Sharpe in the past, and he had an issue going on with Shannon Sharpe. Stephen A took up for Shannon Sharpe, I would suppose, because they're both on the same show now. And Stephen A had some disparaging words to say about Jason Whitlock. Whitlock and Stephen A said that he had some stuff he wanted to reveal about Whitlock, but he'll do it whenever he deem, is the time to do it. Well, Whitlock at that time wanted Stephen A to reveal that information. Then he said, look, whoever it is, that they have an NDA, I will let it go so they can say whatever they want to say. Well, Stephen A hadn't said anything in a while. And then came up this situation where Jason Whitlock pointed out Stephen A has a new book out, a new memoir. And his memoir is basically his life story. Now, Jason Whitlock, Stephen A. Smith got mad at Jason Whitlock yesterday because he said that, you're basically insinuating that I didn't write my memoir and that I lied in my memoir about who I am and how I got to this point right now I am at today. Now, in some of those things, Stephen A. Smith have been on national TV, on ESPN, and he is quoted by saying they had a conversation about him on the NBA show with Malika Andrews, Kendrick Perkins, and the rest of those guys. And they asked him about his college career. And basically Stephen A was like, look, I only averaged 1.5 points per game. He said, I only played one game. He said, because I cracked my kneecap and I just quit playing ball. I couldn't play ball no more. Well, a lot of people found that strange and said, hey, man, you average 1.5 points. You can't average 1.5 points if you played only one game. You had to play more games than that. So a lot of people thought, and this is what I said to Jason Whitlock. I told Jason Whitlock, like, look, I don't necessarily believe everything Stephen A. Smith said. Now, I disagree with him on one aspect of how he was analyzing the situation, because Jason Whitlock basically said that he thinks Stephen A. lied about his entire story, lied that he said that Stephen A. said in his memoir, and you guys can go read Stephen A.'s book if y'all want, but he said in his memoir that he was in New York City in the ice cold in February playing, working out, and one of the guys saw him and took him down to North Carolina to Winston-Salem State University to have a tryout. And he says that at that tryout, he hit like 17 straight shots. Hold on, y'all. He got a call. He's coming right back. I'm going to get right back in. Y'all smash that like button if y'all come on in too. Hit that like button if y'all come on in. And salute to all of you guys who are supporting the channel. He going to come right back in. He just got a phone call real quick. He going to hop right back in. Let me see. There you go, right there. So he said this, dog. He said that Jason Whitlock said that Stephen A was lying about all the stuff he said. Let me get him back in. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right. So as I was saying, man, Whitlock basically was saying that he think Stephen A lied about his entire book, his entire life story, his entire memoir, saying that he basically in the memoir was saying how he was in New York playing in the outside. And he said that one of the cats saw him, I guess, from Carolina, took him down to Winston-Salem State University to try out for big house games. When he got to the tryout, he apparently played well, hit 17 straight shots. I don't know if he said threes or shots, but hit 17 straight shots. And the coach offered him a full scholarship. Jason Whitlock says, and he went at a lot of different points that Stephen A said. He says that Stephen A Smith is lying And he thinks that Stephen A. Smith is a flat out liar and lied in his memoir about his whole college career and stuff like that, and how he got on, because he's saying that he doesn't think that a dude in February in New York with ice cold, snowing, however he put it, I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know if it was snow at that time. Thanks, bro. I don't know if it was snow that year or what. You have to go back to that same year and look at the newspapers and find out what the weather conditions were. But he basically was saying that, hey, man, you think this guy was really out there in February playing in the snow, then went down to Winston-Salem in February when they were in the middle of the season, and then went and tried out in big house games, said, hey, man, I'm going to get this guy a scholarship. And I told Jason Whitlock, we got into it about this, and people didn't understand what I'm saying. I said, look, I'm not talking about Stephen A. Smith's certain situation, but I have seen in numerous situations where guys that walked on, came in the gym, had a great day, crushed dudes, and the coach offered them scholarship. I've seen that before. Mm-hmm. That's not something that's abnormal. I've seen football players after football season walk right in the gym, a football player ball out against the whole team, and the coach offer him money to come play for the team, a scholarship to come play for basketball. You understand what I'm saying? Whether or not he was on a partial scholarship, full scholarship football, I've seen that happen. I've seen dudes walk off the street that he's gonna find out if this dude is eligible to receive a scholarship or be in college. But I've seen dudes who were in school who just walked in the gym, worked out, try out. This is the type of stuff that happens sometimes, and would end up getting scholarship money or getting a scholarship on the team. Now he said Stephen A. lied because he said that in Clarence Big House Gaines' book, rest in peace to Big House, he said that Big House always complained in his book about not having enough funds in the HBCUs at that time. So he said if Clarence Big House Gaines complained about not having all this money, how in the hell he gonna give you a 6'1" dude who came in there, you know what I'm saying, out of the blue hitting? How you think he gonna give you a full scholarship? He said, make it make sense. And listen, for me, I think the story is easily, Stephen A. Smith could easily prove himself by just showing his scholarship. All you do is go to the school and look to see at the time they have the records and see if Stephen A. Smith got the scholarship. Any player who was on scholarship, like I got a full scholarship, I can go show you. All you do is call the school, go find out who got a full scholarship or not. But the point is this. So in the aftermath of that, and everybody, I'm just breaking this down to Kwame so he understands. Aftermath of that, Stephen A. goes on TV yesterday on ESPN First Take, and he explodes. He is hot with Jason Whitlock. Says that Jason Whitlock calls him a fat, you know what again?
Oh man,
all this other stuff, and says that I wrote my memoir, and you got Shannon Sharp trying to calm him down, Molly Karam trying to tell Stephen A. relax, you ain't got to do it, you ain't got to go at him. No, I wrote it. It's me. I wrote my memoir. I ain't lie. I did all it, and now in the aftermath of that, this came out. Now I'm gonna show you this, and this was the part I think. And listen again, I told Whitlock I have seen situations like that. I told him I don't necessarily believe Stephen A. Smith.
I don't believe that.
Everything he say. Listen, right? I don't believe everything he say, but I'm saying that I can't just say, "Hey, you're a liar," without pure evidence, because Stephen A. Smith could then come out, show me he had a full scholarship, and then what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna take back. I'm gonna say I don't believe it. You have to show that to me. But I was telling Whitlock, look, there are situations where I have seen that type of thing happen, where a dude just came in, he was going to the school, he was a walk-on, came in, killing, coach said, hey man, I'm finna give you a scholarship, come on play. I've seen that happen before. So anyways, this came out. I'm putting a screen. So this came out, and you can see the highlighted part, and that's Stephen A. Smith. So in the aftermath of that yesterday, this came out, and it said that Stephen A. Smith actually did play multiple games. And it said he played 9 games. He played 5 minutes a game. He shot 21.7% from the three. He shot front of field, excuse me. He shot 25% from the three. He shot 0% from the free throw line. He got 4 rebounds on the season. He got, what does that say? Let me see. He got 0 assists, 3 turnovers, a block, and 2 steals on the season in the games he played. So that's what those stats right there on the screen say, even though Stephen A. said himself he only played 1 game. He said it on national TV. So now the internet is exploding. Everybody going crazy now talking about this thing. Everybody's going crazy now because of this situation. Now, I had Jason Whitlock on today. A lot of people were upset with me. Oh, Ticket, man, you're going in on him, dog. You got to let him. I'm saying, bro, let me tell y'all something, right? When Whitlock, when he had Chris Bouchard on his show on FS1 on, on First Things First, no, not First Things First. I forget the name of the show they had on FS1, but he had a show on FS1. Speak for yourself. He had a show on FS1 and he was hosting. When he had guest Chris Broussard on, he didn't let Chris Broussard get no words off. Once Chris Broussard started saying that, hey, look, man, when them dudes spray painted the N-word on LeBron James's door, that was racist. Jason Whitlock cut Chris Broussard off. He went off on Chris Broussard. And not only that, he told Chris Broussard he basically did not want Chris Broussard to finish the interview. Chris Broussard snapped on him and said, look, I'm on the set. What are you talking about? So now Jason Whitlock comes out. We'll get to him in a minute. Let's start with Stephen A. Smith, though. We'll get back to Jason in a minute. But Stephen A. Smith, man, now that you have seen, because this dude has been the front runner of trying to discredit you in your career, right? What is your reaction to that whole situation? And what is your reaction to seeing that somebody in the aftermath of this leaked this out online? What is your reaction to that? We all want to know.
It's just like I thought he was. He's a script reading. I don't know if I can cuss on this show, but can I curse on here?
Yeah, go ahead, dog. You good?
He's a script reading bitch like I thought he was. Because if you played this game the way both you and I have played this game, you're going to speak about it with a little bit more respect. You're going to have passion towards it. You're going to speak about it. You're going to put respect on players' name. When you talk about a certain player that's playing bad, you can go off, but Stephen A. does something different. And the fact that this is his record, one, that proves he's a liar because he said he only played in one game. So if you can lie one time, what else is he lying about? Number two, who paid this dude to talk with so much bass in his voice as if he has a leg to stand on when it comes to talking about basketball? Like, I think this ain't gonna change anything because most people still like his style of commentating, but he is the reason why the game is in the state of affairs that it's in now. It's a bunch of talkers and no doers.
Now, see, look, here's the thing, right? And this is what ESPN, I don't even know if ESPN did this, right? But ESPN really, this is what ESPN had did at that time. This is a show that they were on. They were on the show with Malika Andrews, and they actually put Stephen A.'s face up there on the screen. They actually put the year, and they put his stats, 1.5 points, and they said he only played one game. Everybody was asking, how is your stats 1.5 points, but you only played one game? Now, this is what Stephen A.
ESPN is in on a lot, too.
So let's see. Hold on. Right. So, and that's the thing. I was telling Jason Whitlock, like, bro, I'm not saying all of that other stuff. I'm just saying I seen dudes who were walk-ons go in, ball out, and get a scholarship on the spot. I've seen it happen a few times. See what I'm saying? Not all the time, but I've seen it happen a few times, like 2 or 3 times I've seen it happen.
I bet they average more than 1 point in 9 games.
So I'm going to play what Stephen A. said at that time so the people can hear what he said.
It's our starting lineup from tonight.
Well, they're not telling us I only played one game because I cracked my kneecap in half, but that's neither here nor there.
That is neither here nor there. Let's get.
Now, you heard Stephen A. say I only played. They're not telling you I only played one game because I cracked my kneecap in half. But this official book says he played 9 games.
I wonder what his lying ass gonna say now. That's what I want to know. What is he gonna get up there and say now that you played 9 games and only had 1.9 points?
21% from the field, 25% from the 3, 0% from the free throw line. But he says all the disparaging things about you who made it in the NBA as a professional basketball player. But then he, when they asked him about it, he says, "Oh, nah, man, they ain't tell you I only played 1 game." Well, is this wrong?
In high school, where did he come from high school? Like,
No. Here's the thing: Stephen A. Nobody knows what he did. He talks about how he grew up in Hollis, Queens, and went to school around all these great other people that was out there, but nobody really knew. But this is what I'm gonna say: he again is being challenged by Jason Whitlock, and others have came behind Whitlock on this. Now, this is my thing to Whitlock, bro. And I told this to Jason Whitlock. He came on today. I said to him, look, bro, I'm not saying that you're lying about what you feel about Stephen A. But I'm saying that, listen, Stephen A, yes, obviously he didn't keep it real about what happened, because as far as the numbers are concerned, so that would make you think he's not keeping it real about the scholarship. But I asked him, if Stephen A was lying, why didn't anybody from his school or his university, anybody's around him, come out and say, hey, man, this dude is lying. This ain't true. He, out of all these years he's been saying this, nobody ever came out and said he didn't. So that's why I told Whitlock, I always think you have to be careful when you walk that lane, because then Stephen A can come out, show a paper where he was where he got a scholarship, and now everybody's quiet. So maybe he did ball out. Maybe that one day he had a phenomenal day. Maybe he did get a scholarship from Clarence Big House Gaines. And then maybe after that, you seen what happened on the court.
Maybe it wasn't through basketball. Maybe he knew something about Big Gaines and threatened to write something about him or something. And then that's how he got the scholarship, because it just doesn't make no sense from my point of view. I've heard about guys walking on too, but you can see their body of work. You can see they came from a different school. They may have not had the grades, or they may have gotten in trouble. And that's normally how guys get in that situation to walk on. But coaches know about them and their body of work from high school. Stephen A, he just came out of nowhere. This guy got to be a plant, if you ask me. And that's why he talk about basketball the way he talk about it. He don't know, in my opinion, shit about basketball. He know how to get around other great players and great people. And because of his popularity, that's how he's able to get in all these rooms.
Okay, so yeah,
and that's he's also a Q dog too. So a lot of the fraternities, he's an honorary Q dog. So a lot of these fraternities, he's a famous honorary Q dog. So a lot of these people, they protect their own. So a lot of times when you don't hear negative things about people, it's because of the protection that they have.
Yeah, and he kind of did the same thing, man, with Stephon Marbury. I'm talking about Stephen A. Smith. He basically, in my opinion, he's a reason why Stephon Marbury got ran out of the league and had to go over to China and make a whole new career, which he made a Hall of Fame career in China. As far as things he did over there, and I thought Stephon did a great job over there, basically opening up the doors for the NBA guys to go over. And he actually opened up the relationship bigger between the NBA and China, and never really gets enough credit for that. So shout out to Stephon Marbury for doing that. You know what I'm saying? He's been disrespected in many ways, but Stephon Marbury did a lot of great things. Stephen A. Smith never talked about how Stephon Marbury made the shoe when everybody was charging $200-$300 for shoes. Stephon Marbury came out with a shoe that he put in Payless, Walmart, that you could buy for $15 to $25. See what I'm saying?
He'll get fired if he say that, because that's undermining Nike. That's undermining how he get paid and his bosses. So he's not going to show any light. Anytime somebody's doing something good that they disparage, they just don't talk about it. Same thing with the whole Cat Williams situation. I'm hearing that he gave away so much money, all these different things. They don't never talk about that. They only focus on the negativity.
Yeah, because I always used to think, man, like, why are he going so hard at Stephon Marbury like this? Like, he used to do it on his radio show all the time. Like, I mean, every single game he was cremating Amari Stoudemire on national TV, man. And I never understood why he targeted certain dudes like that. But it seemed like it was you and him. And then I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like, bro, a lot of people probably wouldn't have felt this way if he kept the same energy all the way across the board. But he didn't.
He's going to keep that energy for certain type of players, single mothers, kids from single parent households, kids that say no. Stephon Marbury is certain things that he's not going to do, and they understand that. There's certain guys, from the inner city. I believe the league is going to move away from drafting guys from the inner city soon, unless they're the LeBron type of players. That they're not gonna. They're not gonna draft them, because they can get more out of overseas player that's on the same parallel. Because just think about it. If you average 15 or 18 in college and you're from the hood, why wouldn't they go get a guy from overseas that's averaging 15 to 18 similar, but maybe not be as athletic, when they're getting a whole country? We don't support each other like that. They're going to get a whole country when they get this guy from France or wherever he's from.
Now, Kenyon Martin told a story. Shout out to Kmart. He told a story in the past about how he ran into Stephen A. Smith in Puerto Rico after Stephen A. was talking stuff on TV, and he basically told him, "Look, man, you effing with my contract, you effing with my money."
Yeah.
Do you feel like that the things that Stephen A. Smith campaigned and the things he led against you on TV, do you feel like that hurt some of your money along your career and the way people look at you in NBA circles?
100%. There's two things. Who wants to work with a bus? And number two, perception is reality. They're not just saying I'm a bus. Sally Jenkins is saying I'm afraid to stay alone. I had to beg a man to stay with me. I'm not that intelligent. I don't know how to order my own food. Like, how would a person know any of this that just sat down with you for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours to do an interview?
Are any of the things true that they said about you not being hard worker, you being lazy? Was there any of those things that could have been true that they were saying about you? Things that they were saying that you didn't really want to improve, you didn't really work on your game, stuff that a lot of people try to put out there about you and say about you. Is that true or false? How was that in your opinion?
Then that would make the NBA a joke. That would make the scouts a joke. That would make all the players that came to take my job, the 500 and some players that come in there per year that I beat out for a roster spot, that would make them a joke. Like, how could these two things be true at the same time? You mean to tell me I lasted 12, 13 years in the league, not working hard, not working out, not knowing how to read, not liking to be by myself, all of these negative things they say, and yet and still I had a longer career than Trajan Langland, a longer career than a lot of these people that they claim that I was so worse than. How did my career last this long? Is the NBA a joke?
I mean, I understand. I agree with you, what you're coming from, man. I mean, I feel you, man. There was something else that happened yesterday and a day before yesterday as well with Stephen A. And this was a huge situation, and this happened on Gil's channel on Gil's Arena. I don't know if you saw the situation with him and Rashad McCants. Now, Rashad McCants, Stephen A. Smith, and here's the thing people don't realize. This is the reason why I don't respect Stephen A. And I'm going to say this to everybody. All of this energy you have right now, you didn't have that same energy when Kobe Bryant was alive.
No way.
So, and here's the thing, right? Why are you worried? And he talking about, oh, I can say, I want to ask a question. Anybody else that says different things about the all-time listeners, you don't hear Stephen A. really responding to that. But AI said something.
Mm-hmm.
And AI said, look, man, we talking Mike and Kobe and then everybody else. But now, once he said Kobe and put Kobe in that light, now here you come. No. We're going to talk about this. Kobe ain't there. He ain't there. He ain't in there. I'm sorry. And I told him to his face. I did this. So then he had Shaq on the show. And Shaq says, look, bro, I don't know what you thinking about, bro, but we not having this conversation without Kobe. Period. He said, y'all try to take Kobe out of it. No, I ain't taking him out of it. I'm saying he top 10. No, he top, this said I ain't doing that. And so Rashad McCants really went in on Stephen A. And told him how you're trying to, this man done lost his life. And here you go. Trying to bring the man down is what Rashad McCants said. A man who's no longer here, who set his legacy in stone, who was at the high, and they was talking about this and how the players, the guys that were on the court felt, not the media, not the fans, but the players all was saying, man, Kobe, man, Mike and Kobe, that guy, man. But now you want to take that away from him because AI has an opinion. Man, what do you think about all that, man?
AI is influential in our culture, and they know that. So they got to always come back and undo what somebody with that large platform says. And for whatever reason, there can only be one black guy at a time. That's why they always have this debate, or rather, who's better, LeBron, MJ, or Kobe? Why can't they all be great? They don't never compare Tom Brady, Eli Manning, and all these guys in that way. They let them all be great in their own right. With us, it's a sweepstake of diminishing one to uplift another. And from a player standpoint, it don't matter how many stats they throw in front of us of LeBron and none of those things. From a basketball standpoint, we know that it was Kobe and MJ from a skill, from a read the defense, from a get to a spot, from no matter what you game plan to stop me, I'm going to overcome it and I'm going to beat you. I don't have to run you over. They can do it with more style and more grace. Did you see that game? Kobe scored 81 points. Like, that's a skill that's on another level. When Kobe was being guarded by Rajah Bell, I watched Kobe work on different things. He watched film and was just meticulously studying what Rajah Bell was doing to him so that he can come up with a counter move for it. That's the dedication to the game that we don't see today, especially not from most superstars. Kobe didn't just save his body for offense just so he can win all the stat records. Kobe could have easily took off on defense and just won every stat record you could think about, but he didn't do that. He wanted to win championships and championships only.
How did you see the what? Because you were one of the guys who actually watched both of these guys play.
Mhm.
How did you see that debate? Because Stephen A is basically saying that he ain't there. He
Mhm.
ain't in that space. How do you see that debate? Do you see Kobe as being there with Mike, or how do you see that whole the goat debate?
It's 1 and 1.5 to me. They were so similar. Just watching MJ's preparation, watching Kobe's preparation, they both will rip their own arm off to score a basket. Like, I've never met two men with that much competitive nature, but one a little more disciplined than the other. I would say Kobe was more disciplined than Mike. Mike could live his life. Mike could smoke cigars. Mike can go to the casino, stand up all night. Mike can drink with one of the guys. He's one of the guys, but still gonna go out and light your ass up for 55, 60. Kobe is gonna be working out, training, and working out before the game and come in and give you that 55, 60 without talking to nobody. So he was just more committed to the craft. And MJ, not to say he wasn't committed to the craft, but he would go out with you, have a cigar, and still do his job. So because MJ, not to, and I kind of take that back, because what MJ did for us hanging out, he would make up by waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, going in there and working out, going in there and lifting. But Kobe would never do that. Kobe would always say, you know what, I'm not putting that drink in my body. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But for whatever reason, MJ could do that and still do his thing. So to me, from a skill level, there was nobody better than Kobe. If we're talking about overall play, Kobe, MJ, and Kobe.
No,
Like,
why do you think that they have now they don't even want to have a conversation with Kobe? Why do you think they try to remove Kobe from all of these conversations as far as the GOAT?
because Kobe is the one out of all of them that have a message. He said it's a Mamba mentality. He's trying to let you know that the only difference between me and you is I'm going to will myself and persevere through everything that I have to go through. Kobe tore his labrum. He started shooting with his left hand. Kobe snapped his finger, taped it up, and as long as he got a good arm or a good leg, he wants to play. And it's that mentality that they don't want little black boys to have. Kobe is not your typical acting like a thug or acting like a rapper. He was committed. He was focused. He was married. He was dedicated to what he was doing. Was he perfect? No, but he refocused, rebranded himself, and a lot of things that people don't know about Kobe. He was working directly with the banks to try to teach these players financial literacy, because he knew a lot of these players were getting their money taken. So they don't want the overall educated, smart black man who is committed to working and who's coming at it from a mental standpoint, because it is mental. And Kobe had a mind that was unmatched for most people.
Do you agree with those who say, but the longevity puts LeBron ahead of Mike and Kobe?
The longevity, no, because I believe in quality over quantity. And I believe that MJ, if that's the case, MJ, every time he went to the finals, he struck gold. So what if he didn't have that situation where he was out and he could have went back to back to back to back? You know, he might have won consecutive championships 6 in a row or 7 in a row. You never know. But LeBron, you can't take away from it. You gotta give him his credit. It's unbelievable that he's still running like he's in his 20s and he's 38, 39 years old. I've never seen anything like it. I know Vince Carter is the closest thing I've seen to LeBron for as being that age and still being able to run, dunk, and jump. But even he didn't do it on the same scale that LeBron is doing. But
Where do you think LeBron falls at in your all-time list? Just where do you put him at? Do you put him? Do you have him? Oh, I mean, obviously you got Mike and Kobe, but where do you have guys like Kareem and all these other guys? Where do you have LeBron on that? In that, I don't know if you have Magic, Kareem, Wilt, the list goes on.
right.
Don't
So
change Shaq.
LeBron is maybe at he's in my top 10, maybe right around 11. If you add in those guys, you add in Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Akeem Olajuwon. When you add in Moses Malone, you add in those type of players, it changes the game. That's why they try to separate the eras.
So that's okay. I see what you're saying. So if you had to put him in a certain spot, where do you put him at right now?
If we're adding in those guys, he might be number 11 for me.
Okay. A lot of people gonna get off on you for saying that. They gonna say, how you gonna they gonna go in on you for saying that. But that's just your opinion. I mean, you know what? And a lot of older guys, they don't even have a lot of the older.
I'm gonna tell you why that's my opinion.
But they don't have Mike as a GOAT. A lot of older guys don't even have Mike. Like if you ask Dr. J got like 3 or 4 dudes before he even talk about Mike.
Right. And
that's what he saw. Right.
He got good reason for that. But if you look at what Kareem did in college and how they had to change the game for him, and then he learned a different shot because he couldn't dunk. Like that just takes a different type of focus. Like to be that tall and be that imposing, and you can't use the thing that gives you a definite advantage over most people. So to find a shot that has that much touch that you can't stop, I don't think he get enough credit.
Let me ask you a question, bro, that nobody's probably ever asked you. How do other cats around the league feel about Stephen A. Smith behind the scenes? Not in the public, but behind the scenes, how do they really feel about Stephen A. Smith?
They can't stand him, but they're afraid of him.
Why you say they're afraid of him?
Because of the platform that he has. They're afraid that Stephen A. gets very vicious and venomous when it's a black guy. He does the same MO. He hears what you say. He goes on that network, ESPN, that white boy network, and then he goes crazy on the player that talks about him. And he can do that every single morning. So most people don't want to deal with that.
So it's real the fact that a lot of people don't even rock with Stephen A. So you think a lot of these cats smile at him and are cool with him, but because they know the power he has when he goes on the air.
He knows that. He understands that it's a fake love. It's out of fear. I'd rather befriend you than to have an issue with you because I don't want you to go over there and besmirch my name.
Let me ask you this question, bro. Why don't you think more guys and guys who had situations like yourself or like Kobe, why don't you think more guys spoke up for you, man? Like when they saw all this stuff going on, why don't you think more guys spoke up for you and say, hey, man, now I've seen a few guys speak up for you. I've seen Eton Thomas. I've seen a few guys speak up for you, but why don't you think more guys actually, just went out for their teammate and really spoke up for you when they seen you getting all these attacks from Stephen A. Smith? You think that was fear too?
Well, you got to remember the media wasn't as prevalent back then as it is now. People didn't everybody didn't have Twitter and all that where they could just give their opinion on their own. But at least if they did, I didn't know nothing about it in 2001. But yeah, they spoke about it from a intimate setting, like a local level. But yeah, I don't think it was good to do that because the narrative was this was MJ's worst pick. So when they compared me to MJ, they were trying to clean up MJ's decisions. Well, MJ picked him when really he didn't pick me to keep me. He picked me to trade me. But nobody wants to get on the bad side of MJ and that media stampede that comes along with it. Just like my comments that I said about LeBron, there's a media stampede that can come behind that. And a lot of people, they can't deal with that. They don't want to deal with it.
Okay. So that's basically what you think the reason is more guys didn't come out and really speak out when guys could have really came out and really put a strong message out here and say, hey, man, look, this is the real on this whole situation. But, just because of the politics that's involved. They don't want to deal with that monster and stuff. Because Stephen A. he did say on the show one time, he told KD, he said, "I'll come back down to the side of the court. You don't want to make an enemy out of me." So
Hey,
when
he's right about that, because that show will allow Stephen A. to. It's his show. They'll allow him to pick you as a topic the entire time and make you an entire segment. Who wants to deal with that? And especially at that time, MJ still had a loving relationship with the media. So if you said anything against that, then you were going to be in the line of fire, and nobody wants to be in the line of fire.
In closing, man, because I don't want to hold you too long today, man. I appreciate you coming on, chopping it up. In closing, man, what would be your message to Stephen A. Smith about all this stuff he has surrounding him and all of the things over the years that he has said about you and that he has tried to do to you? What is your message now with all of the stuff that has come out, the accusations that's come out? And then you even had the chick, Evelyn Lozada, who was with Chad Ocho Cinco, coming out saying, "I would never be with Stephen A. Smith. This guy," she said that he was, she said, matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to play to you what she said about Stephen A. Yesterday so you can hear this, because she cast some aspersions upon Stephen A. And I'm sitting up here like, wow, man, like I couldn't believe that she said some of the stuff, because I can't remember at the time if Stephen A. really was saying all of these things, but she seemed to have remembered this stuff vividly. And the way she was talking, man, she seemed like she was really bothered by it. So she was asked about Stephen A. She was asked whether or not she would date a guy like Stephen A. Smith. And she said, "I would never." Well, I'm going to let you hear what she had to say. This is what she had to say.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I would never date it. And you know why? I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to keep it a buck right here, Jason. When the shit happened between Chad and I, he was talking so much shit.
Really?
And he was one of the main people that made me feel this small. And because of what I was going through, I just felt like it was hard for me. You know how we talked about feeling re-victim? He was one of the main people that talked about my situation with Chad. He was very negative, and it was difficult. So yeah, I would never date him. Even outside of that, I would never date him, period.
I didn't even know that. But it's interesting because he was the same one that tried to pit Rihanna and Beyonce against each other, and it was like really nasty in the way he did it. So I find it very interesting. I didn't know that happened to you with him.
Yeah, and I felt I every time I see him or whenever he has an opinion about some shit, I always think about that, because it was really, really hurtful for me. Here I am, I'm going through this very public, divorce, breakup. It was, Chad was doing interviews. He was still trying to get back with me at the time. Like, there was so much controversy around it. I'm getting blamed for everything that happens. And he was one of the people that pretty much made me feel like just horrible about speaking up and living in my truth.
Now, on top of that, pay attention to what the dude said. And he talked about how Stephen A. allegedly tried to pit Rihanna and Beyonce against each other. And I remember he had to walk that back on the show because they came in, they went on him hard. That sounds like something that you said where he trying to pit dudes against each other. How do you feel about those? And listen, I'm not a fan of Evelyn Lozada. I don't get down with her style, none of that. But she said some dangerous things in there. She said she used the word he basically, she used a word to us where she would look at him as if he tried to demean her in a way over that situation. What do you feel about that, man? Because Stephen A. got a lot of different things with a lot of different people, and I have seen him. It looks like he'll try and pit one against the other. He did it with KD and Russell Westbrook. That year that KD left, Stephen A. Smith was on. That's why him and KD got into it. Remember when he said, don't make an enemy out of me. I'll come back down to the sideline. When he was trying to pit something between KD and Russ, telling the media that, KD, he doesn't want to play with you. He's going to leave. He's going to the Lakers next year. And then KD turns around, doesn't go to the Lakers and goes to the Warriors. And then KD says, I ain't never talked to you. I don't know you. And then they had a problem. They had a real beef. How do you see this stuff with Stephen A? Why does he find himself in all these different things, man?
Because he got an engine behind him. I mean, nobody's going to fact check what he's going to say. And they're going to always make the player look at fault. We used to get fined. Like the players of today can be more vocal and come at the media. That's why they probably don't like Twitter and certain spaces where Kevin Durant can directly say, Stephen A. Smith full of it. They don't really like that because before they had total control, and most players of that caliber wouldn't come out and say anything against the media because it's all a facade. They want you to believe that they know more than they actually know, that they're actually more credible than they actually are, and that they have these private sources when really it's just all propaganda. They just throw stuff out there, and either way it goes, it's going to make a wave. And it's all controversy. The media of today just want to cause controversy so that it sells, because that's what sells, controversy.
Man, that's crazy, man. Man, I appreciate having you on today, man, and getting your reaction to all this stuff, man. And it seems like Stephen A. is catching a lot of heat over this memoir, man, and people saying that he lied about his life story, man. And so, I mean, just for me to
do
see
some research and react to this video. It's
gonna y'all definitely got to go check out Kwame's channel, because I do want to hear your reaction on your channel to actually somebody putting out this.
Mm-hmm.
And based off what Stephen A. said, especially the way he have been like condescending, like you said, the stuff he say hurts dude's contract. I watched Steph Marbury get ran out of the NBA based off things that Stephen A. Smith was directly criticizing him and saying when he was with the Knicks. Okay. I saw stereotypes and characteristics put on this man. I seen things said about this man that helped damage this man's NBA basketball career.
And they stick too.
And so, yeah, man. So, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. We'll look out for your channel today, Kwame Brown Bus Life. I want to see his reaction to all of this stuff that's been going on. One last thing I'm gonna ask you about before we go, man. Jason Whitlock, he said to me in an interview today, he said that racism, rich people can't experience racism. So people like yourself, people like LeBron, all these guys, he said if you're rich, you cannot experience racism. And he says that if somebody calls you, if your boss or employer, anybody calls you the N-word or something like that, as long as they don't deprive you from having a job, he says that they're not that he doesn't see that as racist. He said racism is only when people deprive you of something. So he said that like when they spray painted the words on LeBron James's fence and all of these things, he said that's not racism because nobody deprived LeBron James. Nobody deprived him of an opportunity. Matter of fact, I want to take you back because me and him, we had an argument about this. And this will be the last thing I ask you. I'm going to take you back. I want you to hear what he said about that situation. Mm-hmm. And I asked him today about that. And I asked him about his commentary on Deion Sanders and why he was so critical about Deion Sanders when him himself has said certain things. He said the things he said about himself, he was just joking. When he said that he had a part ownership in a strip club, when he offered to take the young white lady on TV, Christian Leahy, to the strip club, along with the man Colin Cowherd, he offered them to take them to the strip club. He said he was just joking. He wasn't serious. It was all banter. But I want you to listen to this. But there are pictures of him out there with all these chicks. But I want you to listen to what he said.
All right, I came on your show, Colin, earlier today on the Herd and talked about this. And I just want to clarify again. Racism is an issue in America. It's a real issue, and it has real negative impact, particularly on poor people. LeBron James just experienced some disrespect. But what impact does it really have on him? Feelings may be hurt. I don't know. He wasn't there. This is a second home. I think the analogy to Emmett Till is ridiculous. Emmett Till lost his life brutally in the 1950s over nothing. And to somehow my mind went there because in my $20 million second home in Brentwood, someone spray painted something that my staff cleaned up within hours and the police investigated, I'm sure. It's not analogous to Emmett Till. LeBron, to me here, is embracing his victimhood. It's a mistake. What happened to him was disrespectful. But again, this is not the racism that needs to be stamped out in America. This is an inconvenience for LeBron.
So, and now I want you to hear what happened with him and Chris Broussard, because it's funny to me. A lot of people say, hey, man, Ticket, you cut Whitlock off in the interview y'all had. Well, it's because I held his feet to the fire the same way he did Chris Broussard. Now, I want you to hear Chris Broussard's response. And then when you hear Chris Broussard's response, I want to get your thoughts on this, and then we're going to close this thing out. And so, like I said, this was a very, very, very informative conversation that me and Whitlock had today.
And LeBron James has children, all right, a 12-year-old son and maybe a 9 or 10-year-old son. He's also thinking about other incidents, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Terrence Crutch, who are not Henry Louis Gates on his own porch, a Harvard professor accosted by a policeman. Hold on, let me finish. I mean,
now see, everybody complained in that interview I did with Whitlock and said, "Oh, Tiki, you was cutting Whitlock off, didn't let him talk." This is what he did on his own show to Chris Broussard. When Chris Broussard was giving his explanation, he listened to Whitlock, didn't cut Whitlock off. But when Whitlock says something, now he cuts Whitlock off. But see, you guys get upset when I bring the same energy. I'm not going to stop doing that. This is who I am. This is how I move. If I feel like you're doing stuff like this, I'm going to hold you to the presses. The same thing I told him about Deion Sanders. The same way he's been on there putting all this pressure on Deion Sanders. What did this man do to you? What harm did this man bring to you? What harm is he bringing to you? The only thing he's doing is being a father with his sons, which is what we want to see most black men and leaders do. A leader of men, a dude who's out here showing dudes that they can do things the right way instead of being in the streets, robbing, stealing, and killing. But let me finish playing it because I want to hear you. I want you guys to keep that same energy in this comment section about how he did Chris Broussard and the things he said.
Pointing out obstacles and facts is not embracing. Is not embracing. That's an obstacle. It's an obstacle white people in America don't have to deal with.
They never have, and their houses never get vandalized. They never hear disrespectful things to them.
When pointing out facts is not embracing victimhood, LeBron James clearly does not think of himself.
Man just said,
can I finish?
Yes, you can.
And
it is still my show, Chris.
I don't care whose show it is. I'm on the set.
It's still my show.
So that means I can't talk?
You can't filibuster the whole
you
conversation.
You cut me off every 6 words because I don't agree with you. You start by saying racism exists, but then every time a black person brings up racism, you shoot.
And all y'all was in here capping when I told Jason Whitlock and held him to the same smoke he held with Chris Broussard. Y'all was in that comment section. Oh, Tiki, you ain't let him talk. This is what Jason Whitlock do. I just met him with the same energy he give out. You mad at me now?
Because again, someone spray painting something on a millionaire's home.
He's not a victim in that situation?
Hell no.
He was victimized?
It's nothing, Chris. In the grand scheme, and to analogize it to Emmett Till is a joke.
Well, I think what LeBron was doing was...
So, to that, and I asked him, when NBA players are called the N-word by fans, Marcus Smart said he was called the N-word in Boston by Boston Celtics fans. Bill Russell was called, they treated him like a dog, put raccoons in his basement. That man was winning championships. They treated Bill Russell, till the day he passed away, he held a grudge against a lot of them people in Boston for how they treated that man, bro. And the things we seen, how is Jason Whitlock saying, oh no, that's not racism? He told me straight in the interview that if his boss comes to him saying the N-word, he said that's not racist. He said it's only racist if he prevents him from having a work opportunity. So I said, bro, your boss can sit up there and call you all types of N-words and all types of whatever he want to call you, and you're saying that's not racist. He said, no, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me. It's not racist. To that, you say what?
I think that's ignorant. I think Jason is, I don't know. Like, to me, he did exactly what Steven Jackson said he would do to Cat Williams, which is redirect the conversation. I think Chris Broussard was making good points. Like, what about his children? He's going to have to go explain that somebody wrote the N-word on their gate, which is a racial term. What did they do to deserve that? So I don't agree with Jason Whitlock that only rich people can't experience racism, because you can't, just because somebody's rich, that don't mean they change their color. So I think that's an ignorant statement. I got pulled over in a Rolls Royce, and I was in Woodbine, Georgia, and a cop said, I just wanted to see who was stupid enough to drive this type of car through this town, and then made me get out the car and asked me, was I a drug dealer? I don't know if that's racist. I don't know what that is, but all I know is not a good feeling. And just because I had money don't mean I didn't feel and bear the weight of my time being hindered and my motion being hindered just because some cop wanted to see how could I afford this type of car. So I definitely don't agree with Whitlock. And I think he did a great job of cutting off Chris Broussard, because he was going to explain it in a way where everybody else could understand it. You don't want your kids having to deal with that. You don't want your wife, the people around you having to deal with that. And money it doesn't cover everything. And as a Christian man, he should know that Jesus didn't have a lot of money. So why is he bringing up money and how much money somebody has compared to the type of respect and the treatment that you should give them?
So you don't think that racism is based on your financial status or anything like that?
No, yeah, I think racism is based on status. It's more
No,
about
I mean, if you're rich, you don't think, because Jason Whitlock says rich people can't. He says people who are rich cannot experience racism because you're rich. You're made it in America.
That's not true. It's a lot of rich people that still have a hood mentality and they ain't made it nowhere. They still stay in the hood. They still get subjected to the same things. Like think about it. There's a lot of quote unquote rich black people that think as long as they move to the suburbs around white folks, they're going to live this great life. Then they find out these white folks call the police on them, tell them to make sure they check their houses. Look at what happened to Terrell Owens. The people were into his HOA, all of these things. So I made sure strategically when I purchased the house, there's no HOA. I have my own plot of land. You know, I'm free from all jurisdiction, someone else's mindset of what to do with my property, because I have moved into certain neighborhoods that you're not welcome. And it's to me, it's based on one, because you black, and maybe two, because some black folk may have moved out there and didn't do the right thing. So it definitely comes with prejudice and all kind of things when you make money. And I don't know what Whitlock's circumstance is as far as making money added to the celebrity, but no, I don't agree with him at all on that.
Man, I appreciate having you on, brother. Much love
Salute
to you,
to you,
honor
man.
and respect to you, man.
Yes, sir. Let me get this food out this oven. I'm gone.
All right, dog, gone. Salute to